This is the quick Irish stew, and there are quite a few ingredients inside of it. There are 2 small baguettes, so I guess if this is for 4, you'd have half of it, which is the classic French ingredient for doing stews. There are 3 little... Here are 5 small potatoes. And so that's a rather small serving of potatoes for 4 people. A bunch of ingredients for making some sort of a gravy, I guess. Even more flour. There's actually 4 things of flour in the end. A small bottle of Calavito sherry vinegar. That would be interesting. Calavita sherry vinegar. And then here there's several cloves of garlic. Now, looking at this, I'll see what else they recommend with serving it. Doesn't seem like a huge portion for a family of 4. I'm using the church kitchen again. It's a little bit darker in here today because it's so cloudy outside. So this is for the quick Irish stew. This is the garlic, and that is used both in the stew itself and along with some olive oil to garnish the crostini that will be cooked. So there's yellow potatoes that have been quartered, and then there's parsley, and I can't remember what this other one is. I just pulled it off. It's on there somewhere. Let me just see. Maybe I can see it if I can find it on the front of this thing here. It just says Italian parsley and thyme, so that's thyme. I like the fresh herbs, but one of the things I do find is that it does add a little bit of busy work to the doing of the dish. And so if you're trying to do things in a hurry, if you have the spices at home, you might just want to use this for something else, and then just use some of the dry variety. It will make some difference in the flavor, but probably not all that much. So here again is the recipe card. It's always a good idea to be able to keep this close, so that you, particularly when it's items of time, that you can keep things on pace and that you don't burn things. Okay, so here's the potatoes ready to go into the oven. And I think if you look at this, this is supposed to serve 4, and that seems that would be 4 rather small portions. The 4 of these potatoes don't seem, well, there were actually, I think there were 5 potatoes that make up the 4 portions, but they don't seem to be, there seems to be less potato here than there was in the 4 potatoes that I put into the pan-seared pork chops. But I'm going to stick them in the oven, and they're supposed to have quite a few minutes in there, and then we'll see where things go from there. Okay, here's the ground beef. It's just about ready to transfer into a bowl. It says on the instructions to cook it until all the pink is gone, and then to transfer it to a bowl while you're waiting to cook the other ingredients. So this is the mirepoix with, it's supposed to be 2 tablespoons butter. I probably aired a little bit more. That's my belief when it comes to butter. I'd rather have more than less, and if the Canadian Heart Association doesn't like it, well, that's their, that's their tough luck. So the next thing they ask you to do is to take the ground beef and the juices and to add them back into the dish. And so I've added those, and just start stirring that in. And once I've got that started to stir in, I will be adding some of the flour in that, and we'll start making the actual stew base. That's looking pretty good. So there is the stew burbling away. At the moment, it doesn't seem to be thickening pretty much, but, you know, we'll give it a few more minutes. The crostini has gone into the oven, and it should be browning soon. And then over here, I have the potatoes that have come out of the oven, and they are nice and brown and crispy around the edges. And so at some point, I'll just dump it into the pot. I know they sort of suggest you add it on a bowl-by-bowl basis, but I'll just put the potatoes into the pot, and the stew should be ready to serve up. Only in a matter of a few minutes. Just want to add a little note on the potatoes. It says to quarter them. I think if I was doing it again, I might cut them into sixths. And just get a few more pieces that's more, you know, a little more potato in every mouthful, because these seem to be actually fairly large pieces considering the sizes of the vegetables and things like that in the stew. But that's just a matter of personal preference. You should, you know, cut things up the way you like them. And here's the crostini nicely out of the oven. Nice and dark brown around the edges, and the oil looks nice on the in the middle. So the serving suggestion is you add a little bit of parsley into the bowl, and then also sprinkle some along the crostini, the garlic crostini. I decided I would just sprinkle a little bit on the bowl. It looks fine. It's still a little runnier than I would like, but that's just one of those personal preference things, I think. Okay, here we come to tasting time. Give it a bit of a stir, I guess, to do that. Here we go. I'll take it from the bowl, over top of the camera, into the mouth. Again, very tasty. The flavors all mixed together well. The meat is nice and chewy. Let's have a little bit of the garlic toast here. It's got some of the stew on it, which I always kind of like. Yeah, there's a bite out of it, I know. But that crisped up quite nicely. And even though that loaf has been sitting around for 3 or 4 days before I got around to cooking it, it's still quite good. So I'm really enjoyed that.